Welcome to FluentPet Academy's Instructor Spotlight. We are bringing you courses and webinars from top industry professionals covering training, enrichment, animal behavior, genetics, and more. Here's your chance to meet the humans behind it all. Hi, Lily. I am so excited to have you here and to be talking to you and your amazing hair. Everyone's got to see and notice that because it's fire. I would love if we could start by just having you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and where you're at and what you do now.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Lily Hargis, and I am a dog trainer who specializes in behavior. I work at a veterinary behaviorist's office, Animal Behavior Wellness Center in Richmond, Virginia, and we work with dogs all over the tri-state area who experience a variety of behavior concerns. But one of the things that I'm most passionate about when it comes to dogs and people is accessibility and making sure that everyone has the information that they need in order to be equipped with providing their pets the care that they want. And the industry of pet care as a whole is not super accessible in some ways. And so that's one of the things that I think is really important as an individual and the kind of work that I do.
Amazing. Important work for sure. I love the question of accessibility and how we can make our worlds more accessible, not only for us, but for our animal companions. And I think that your course takes us a long way down that road. And I'm really thankful that you are here and that you've created this course for us. And I would love if you could tell us what it's called and broadly what it's about. What is it going to give to us?
So the course is about how to find a good care team, because when it comes to having a pet, there's a whole lot of people that are involved in that process and part of the care team, from veterinarians to dog sitters, dog walkers, to groomers, and everything in between. And just like with children, I think that everybody has an opinion about how they want their pets to be handled and how they want to raise their pets. And so making sure that everyone who interacts with their pet is on that same page is really important. And a lot of these industries are unregulated depending on the state that you're in. And that means that with dog training, for example, anybody can call themselves a trainer and advertise and sell services. And especially in my job, I've seen a lot of people who work with trainers or work with groomers that advertised a certain thing. And then in practice, that wasn't aligned with what they were actually doing. And I want to equip pet parents with the skills to assess people's knowledge base and if they're a good fit for their pet, to make sure that everybody is safe and all of the ways that we are interacting are aligned with the respect that I think those animals deserve.
Amazing. I just got full body chills. Seriously, it's so valuable. If I had this resource when I brought Bunny home as a first time dog guardian with zero knowledge, I would have been much better equipped. And not only because I would have had a list of professionals and I would have known how to choose professionals, but I would have had a specific direction in terms of this is the type of care that we should be aiming for all non-humans, right?
Yeah.
There should be a standard of care. And a lot of people, first time dog owners, first time cat owners, just don't understand what that care should look like. And it's really easy just to trust the person in front of you or to read some random review. But who knows if that person's values are in alignment with yours? Who knows even exactly what our values should be to begin with? So I think that you really spell out quite clearly here is a standard level of ethics that we should be attempting to adhere to. And here is how to make sure that all of these individuals that you will need in your pocket for the duration of the lifetime of your companion animal are meeting those sets of ethical standards and guidelines. So thank you for creating
Yeah.
this course.
Thank you. And you bring up a really good point, which is the idea of a lot of times we don't even know what we can ask for, right? Because a lot of these industries, veterinary care, for example, I work at a vet's office, and before I worked there, I had no idea the amount of flexibility that was possible in handling animals. And so I would bring my dog to the vet and they would make a recommendation. And I was like, okay, we're just going to go with that. And in actuality, there's so many ways that you can advocate for your pet, and there's so many ways that the services can be customized to their individual needs if you're working with the right people that are prioritizing their care in that way. And so I really wanted to bring up a lot of those flexible advocacy opportunities so that people even knew that it was an option.
Yeah, 100%. So valuable. Took me years and years to learn that. And again, I would
Same.
have liked this course about 5 years ago. Thank you very much. I'm just
Working on
glad
it.
it's here
Time
now.
travel.
Yeah.
Time travel.
Yes. Wormhole.
Yeah.
All right. So what is, if you had to narrow it down, what would be your favorite concept or topic specific to the course that you've created?
I would say, I think one of my favorite concepts or topics is the idea that you are working with experts in their field, but you are the expert in your pet. And I know, right? This is something that I heard from my mentor, Gabrielle Johnson, who's also doing a course with FluentPet.
An interview today. I can't wait to speak with them.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
amazing. And this is something that I picked up from them because collaboration is really the key throughout this entire process. And I think that a lot of pet parents, and that's the term that I use, I know everyone has different things they're comfortable with, but pet parents or pet guardians can feel disempowered unintentionally or sometimes intentionally throughout these processes, and just reminding people that you are the expert in your pet. You are spending so much more time with them. You know them on a deeper level. As a person who works in a vet office, I'm seeing your pet sometimes at their most stressed. I'm not seeing their true selves. And so making sure that the pet parent or pet guardian feels empowered throughout this process, that they are the expert in their pet. And this really is a collaboration with professionals and not a top-down relationship is super important.
Love it. Chills again. So inspired. Maybe it's the hair.
Thank you. I never changed it.
Okay. So what inspired you to teach this specific topic? You've talked a lot about how you feel that this is a very valuable resource, but is there some experience you had where you were like, oh my God, if only I had known this 10 years ago or 5 years ago, or whatever the case may have been, that really drove you in this direction?
Yeah, I would say two experiences. So before I was a dog trainer, I worked teaching medical professionals about bedside manner and empathy. And that process of spending so much time with these experts in their field, but seeing how at the end of the day, their biases can really impact the care that patients are receiving on a human level, started this interest for me when it came to animals, because those same principles apply, those same biases still exist. And so that was something that I carried with me into the transition of working with dogs. But I would say once I started being a dog guardian and I needed to find a trainer was the first process. I remember I had no idea what to do. And so I went on the AKC's website and was like, how do you find a good dog trainer? And thank God they put like certain credentials that are not gatekeeping. You must have these in order to be a trainer, but they did point me in a helpful direction of a fear-free approach, which thank God I did, because all I see day in and day out are dogs that have been worked with that have developed PTSD, have developed trauma responses as a result of forceful training. And so I think that seeing how I fell accidentally into a really good way of training and how close I was to not doing that and taking an entirely different path that would have really harmed my dog scared me, because I didn't feel like I was making an educated choice. I was just blindly trusting and fortunately landed in the right bucket. But I don't want that to ever be anyone else's experience of it being luck.
I love that so much. And as you were talking about bedside manner and how the approach has to start from a place of empathy, that just reminded me a lot about how you talk about your approach to dogs too, starting from a place of empathy and really trying to understand them. I love that. I had another profound thought while I was having that thought and it's gone.
Oh,
I know, it was so good too. We'll circle back if I remember it. Okay.
all the time.
Oh,
The
this is a
ADHD
good
struggle.
Oh, it's so bad. I think it's the not having had quite enough coffee yet and the time change. For whatever reason, nobody got the link that I sent. I have 7 interviews today. Nobody got the link. So like in between, I'm like, and then also, why is daylight savings time? Because
I hate it. It's a scam.
yeah, Because now my like Midwestern or like Central people are like, oh, we're meeting in an hour. No, it's 2 hours. And then my Thai person was like, are we meeting at this time? And I was like, no, let's
And like
go.
my microwave is off, my oven is off, my phone is off. And I don't know how to
Yes.
fix any of them. Like
I
I don't
am
know how to
time
change
traveling. I have
that.
no idea what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's rough, man. It's rough.
yeah, I'm
Uh,
with you.
but- okay, great. We can use that segment instead of the brilliant comment that I had planned for it instead.
Yeah. Just throwing
uh,
in some political agenda. Let's get rid of daylight savings.
yes, please. Anyone in favor? Aye. So, how do you continue to educate yourself about this topic? What are your sources for continued education and learning as you strive to do the best you possibly can by your companion animals?
Yeah. So I find it very lucky that I work where I do because we are all about collaboration. And so by working at a veterinary behaviorist's office that puts behavior and care of the animal first, I brush up against a lot of really amazing professionals, both people in the office that I work with and then people who we collaborate with just outside of the office. And so I get a lot of inspiration from those people. One of my coworkers is saying, oh, I'm taking this course and it's super beneficial to me. And so maybe you would be interested in taking this course as well. I am a big proponent of continuing education because everything is changing all the time, especially with pets, because they're super under researched. And so all of this new information is percolating. And if you're not staying on top of it, it's going to change. And
Yeah.
so I think it's important to have good sources of information in colleagues and peers. I think that it's also important to keep an eye out for stuff on social media. It can be a double-edged sword. So again, being informed when you're going in and having good sources to draw from is important. I listen to a lot of podcasts that I think are fun and interesting. And those get me into other professionals, like wormholes in that way. So I think it's more of a constant osmosis. I have heard a lot of people say it's good to go to conferences, and I would love to, but I have a dog who has specific needs that don't allow me to travel easily. And I'm interested in avenues of continuing education that are remote.
Amazing. Thankfully, a lot of those conferences now you can attend remotely, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's incredible. Gosh darn it. There was one thing that you said there that I was very keyed into that I wanted to comment more about, but brain wasn't there yet. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, I was gonna say, can you tell us some of your favorite podcasts right now that are just continually pumping out really relevant current information?
I really like behavior vets. I think that they're awesome. I like a lot of the stuff that they're talking about and sharing. I'm not sure if they're still putting out new content,
Yeah.
but historically, I like their stuff. I also like Beyond the Black Box, though I also think that they are not putting out new content, but their historic content I think is really good and amazing. Behavior Buzz with 5 or 6 Z's, a lot of Z's. That's the one that is through Animal Behavior Wellness Center, and they've been having
Oh,
some really
okay.
cool guests on there and talking about a lot of interesting stuff as well. And I've been listening to those, not mandatory because they're my boss, but because they're good. So I would
Awesome.
say those are good ones that I've been listening to.
Okay, thank you for that. That's amazing. I'll have to check some of those out that I haven't heard of.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is a common misconception that students might have about this topic?
I think a really common misconception, and I address this in the course, is this idea that there is a right and a wrong way to do things. There are good professionals and there are bad professionals, and I'm going to be teaching you how to tell the difference between those things. And that is not true because there is no one size fits all in terms of our pet's personality and needs. There's also no one size fits all in terms of the providers that we're working with. And so there are people who my clients work with and it's gangbusters and it's perfect and the relationship is gorgeous with that professional. But if I brought my dog there, it wouldn't be a good fit. And this idea that there's good vets and bad vets and good groomers and bad groomers, I think that's a misconception. And really what I'm interested in is how can we ask questions of our pets about what their needs are? And then how can we ask questions about the professionals? It's more like speed dating. It's more dating. I think that.
That's a brilliant answer, and I love it. And I think that sort of ties back into the idea of collaboration and how much community is needed to facilitate a smooth order of operations in this regard, right?
Yeah.
Everything you've learned from everyone else and bringing in all these other people to collaborate and communicate with each other so that we can all be as healthy and happy as possible. I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Can you please share a memorable moment from your own education about this topic? There's something that really stands out where you were like, oh crap.
I brought my dog in to his veterinarian, and we work with a fear-free veterinarian, which is something that I highly recommend in the course. And he needed to be sedated. So he got an IM injection, which is intramuscular. And I was not aware of this at the time, but they're painful. And so he jumped up and screamed. And he recovered very quickly, but I wasn't expecting that big a response. And it was upsetting to me because I don't want to see him ever go through any kind of pain. And also, I wasn't expecting it. And I went into work the next day and was like, gosh, this was really not ideal. And I am bummed that was the way that it happened. And one of my coworkers said, oh, they didn't do it through IV. And I was like, huh? And she said they could probably just do it through IV and then they wouldn't have to do intramuscular and then they could sedate. It wouldn't be so painful. And I was like, that's an option that I was not aware of. And so I reached out to my veterinarian and said, is this a possibility? And she said, oh yeah, absolutely. We could totally try that next time. And so I had to bring him in for a dental and we tried it for that procedure. It was the smoothest, calmest, most beautiful experience of sedating a dog. He didn't need to be, there was no restraint. He just offered his arm. They did it. There was no pain associated. He just went to sleep. And I remember walking out of that office feeling so at peace with the care that we had just received and what I had just put him through because it wasn't painful. And afterwards, my veterinarian said, I just want to thank you for advocating for your pet and making sure that any option we have to avoid discomfort is being pursued. And that also meant a lot to me to have my veterinarian support me through that. And that's something that kind of really motivated this course was the fact I didn't know it was an option. The amount of improvement that we had to the whole process by incorporating it, I think was just amazing.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Again, chills. That's a really beautiful story. I love it. Thank you for sharing.
I was so relieved.
I know.
Yeah.
Screaming dog every time. What am I going to do? Or easy
Yeah.
peasy. No one's in pain. No one's screaming.
Yeah.
Like, it's an easy choice, but it's not an easy choice if you don't know the choice exists.
If you don't know, because so many people are like, oh, it's the vet. Of course, it's going to be awful. There
Yeah.
is
So then
no
they go to a
other
new
way.
vet. Yeah. Build a whole new relationship from scratch. And then it gets really messy and disheartening. You're going to save people a lot of heartache and confusion. I really believe that.
I
Yeah.
hope so. And I went through it myself. I've been to, I think at this point now, 4 different primary care veterinarians. And I say in the course, shop around. I would say the same for human doctors, like shop around, interview people, see how it's going. You don't have to commit just because you brought your last dog there, because that's where your parents brought your dog.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well. What's something students might be surprised to learn about you?
I think students might be surprised to learn about. I am also part of the, I'm also part of this. There is no answer or no top-down information person. And so I'm also still learning, right?
Yeah.
Like, the idea that my dog could get IV sedation instead of IM, that didn't happen 5 years ago. That happened last year. And I am still learning things about this process and options that are available. And I'm sharing education, both that I've learned and that people around me who have years of expertise in the field have. But it is constantly evolving, like we were talking about with continuing education. And I think sometimes people are surprised to hear that their groomer struggles to groom their own dog, or their trainer has a dog that counter surfs. And think that might be something that people would be surprised to hear, is that perfection doesn't exist. Perfection doesn't exist for any of the professionals you're working with. It doesn't exist for me.
Wait, what? What? That is so valid and such a great point. And there's nothing I love more than to hear from someone, I don't have all the answers, but I'm doing my very best to learn as I go and present you with the information that's as factual as I can find it now. I really deeply respect that. How has your approach to teaching evolved over time, like with clients? Was there something you did in the beginning that you then thought, I don't think this is working, that sort of allowed you to revolutionize how you're teaching?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. So I started young, and I was taking clients that were older than I, in their 50s or 60s. And so I had a lot of intimidation, and I wanted to have the right answer, and I wanted to have it quickly, and I wanted to fix the problem for them. And so I fell victim to this idea of, I have the answer. I have the answer and I'm going to provide it. It almost felt like training sessions were a quiz and I had to get it right. Now that I have more years under my belt and more experience and all of that stuff, I'm so much more comfortable saying, that is so weird. I have no idea. And what do you think is happening? Because I think
Because
that's
they're the
super
expert in their
interesting.
dog. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And so I would say that's something that I look back and I just want to hug. It was like my shoulders were up to here. I just want to hug my little self and be like, it's okay. You don't know it, and that's all right. Let's do some fact finding and figure it out.
Yeah, I love that. And again, back to collaboration, right? There's so much information that you don't have that you will need to get from the human guardians of the animals that you're helping. And if you don't approach it collaboratively, it's going to be tricky to be on your little pedestal and just have all the answers. You're much more likely to have all the answers if you're working in a collaborative space.
Yeah. And if you're curious, and
Yes.
I think curiosity comes from a place of safety. If I don't feel safe and secure, then I don't have kind of the luxury of being curious. And so I needed that to be met, that baseline to be met first in my career in order to start to get curious. But now that I'm there, it's all I look for in people that I am also working with. Are you curious? Are you asking questions?
I love it. That's incredible. What would you hope that students remember from this course years later?
I would really hope, bottom line, number one thing that people could take away would be, in all of these fields, because I talk about grooming and dog training and veterinary care and sitters and walkers, I really want people to take away that there is always an alternative to force. And there is always an alternative to making a dog do something. The only exception that I can think of is emergent situations where, but I think that if you have a professional who's telling you the only way you can train this dog is by using force or intimidation, the only way that we're going to get this dog's nails done is by using force and intimidation, the only way I'm going to be able to walk your dog is if I do it on a prong collar, that professional is not for you. And all of the other stuff is bonus in terms of finding the right person and all of this. But like you were saying in the beginning of our conversation, if that baseline criteria is not met of safety and security for our pets, we are going nowhere. And so that, I think, is the number one thing I'd want people to take away.
Love it. Absolutely. That has been my takeaway. So
good. Yeah.
Love it.
In all industries.
In all industries. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Here's one. What did you want to be when you were growing up? Is this where you thought you'd be?
Oh my gosh. It changed so many times.
That's fair.
Yeah. I wanted to be in theater for a really long time. My undergraduate degree is in theater, and I struggled to reconcile that with where I am now for a while. But I think at the end of the day, when we're talking about theater, we're also talking about listening. We're also talking about collaboration. And so there are these foundational skills that kind of translated. But I was like, I'm going to be on Broadway probably.
Yay! All the dogs coming in hot right now.
Like you said, Broadway.
Yeah.
We
Sing
are
for me.
we are professionals.
Yeah. And I think too, as an actress, I mean, in going to all these different, in working with all different types of people, you have to show up as a person who's going to be heard by them, right? So I'm sure there's some aspect of be who this human in front of me needs me to be, whatever that
Oh yeah.
takes. So I can see the crossover there being actually quite helpful and
Yeah.
pragmatic, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the dog too, right? If I'm
Yes.
saying no one size fits all for the dog, then I have to be multifaceted as a professional. Can't just come at it from one approach. I have to be able to work with both the people and the dogs or and the cats.
Absolutely. Yep. 100%. What is a failure? I don't love the word failure, but what is a failure in this realm for you that taught you something endlessly valuable? We touched on that a little bit with the intramuscular injection for your dog. That sounds like that was a big lesson. I wouldn't call that a failure, of course. But is there anything else that sticks out that would be, you think, maybe relatable?
My dog has separation anxiety, and there's a lot of misinformation out there, different ways to fix it. And I tried a lot of them, right? Like the running around until you sweat into a bra and then leaving it on the crate so that the dog smells you and knows it, really, like things that I tried. And at the end of the day, if I had known about a good way to find a trainer who specialized in that, we wouldn't have gone through this whole process. And it would have been a
Yeah.
lot quicker and it would have been a lot more humane. And so I would say that was a failure, was watching my multiple attempts to try and resolve this thing, from crating to over exercising him to all this stuff that I tried, that ultimately wasn't effective again because I just didn't have the tools to find the right expert, I think.
Yeah. Amazing. It's so relatable.
Yeah,
Incredibly
it's
relatable.
unfortunate.
I think you have made out of it the very best that can be made out of it. Look at where you are, look at where he is, look at the relationship you have. I think that's really beautiful. So I think a lot of times it would be hard to get to a place where we are without having made a ton of mistakes or failures along the way. So kudos to you
Yeah.
for that.
And I
Yeah.
think I also just want to say acknowledging them is important, because if I just put my head down and said, oh, I don't like the way that this is being handled for my dog, but in order to change it, I have to admit my complicity with the fact that we've gotten to this point. If I can't go there emotionally and accept the role that I played, then I can't change it for my dog. And
Yeah.
it's that hard emotional work of being like, oh, yeah, I made not a great choice there and I regret, that allows us to say, I'm going to make a different choice.
Yeah. 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 I love that. That's a lot of self-reflection, which is not
Mhm.
always easy or fun, but
Yeah.
definitely gets us farther faster in the long run.
Yeah.
What would you say is one skill or technique that you're actively trying to learn or improve right now?
I'm currently working through a program to become a certified separation anxiety trainer, speaking of that topic. So that's something that I'm really interested in. And one of my favorite things about that program is that it's definitely a lot of training, but it's also a lot focused on client counseling and
Ooh.
how to cheerlead and how to celebrate the wins and how to have difficult conversations. And so I think that's what I'm working on right now that I'm very interested in. And then moving forward, I want to just deepen that conversation of how can I show up for my clients in the difficult times? How can I be the most effective? I'm never going to be someone's therapist, but how can I be heading into those conversations compassionately and effectively?
I love that. And I think that a lot of times behavior consultants do function as therapists. And I think you should give yourself a little bit more credit. I have been with my behavior consultant, like in tears. Should I be paying you more? Like I give my therapist like $275 an hour. And the support that I've gotten there, which a normal therapist couldn't relate to because they are not a dog behavior expert. It's a different level of therapy, but I do believe that it is still therapy. So I think you can give yourself that.
I appreciate that. It is, there's a lot, there's a lot of difficult conversations that arise in that process. And I want to make sure that I'm supporting people because I don't have that therapy certification. I never want to do harm, but also knowing that we're going to have conversations that are rough stuff and making sure that is informed and compassionate.
Amazing. Lily, this has been such an enriching conversation for me. My cup is like overflowing, and it's been really wonderful to talk to you. And I can't wait for this course to be out there and people taking it because it's so valuable and it's so brilliant. Just like you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm so excited for it to be out there in the world. And I hope that if people take it and get something out of it, reach out to me, let me know, tell me the takeaways that really changed things for you and your pet, because that's the kind of stuff that keeps us all as professionals going.
Absolutely. One last question. Where can people find you?
Yes, I am on Instagram as all one word, Brave Boy Milo. And that is the best primary way to get in touch with me.
Okay. Amazing. We will see you very soon. Thank you so much.
Subscribe.